This particular Model Y I'm reviewing is the standard range rear wheel drive configuration, which is no longer available to purchase on Tesla's website. It belongs to my older brother Mike, who lives in sunny California, where we shot this video. The Tesla Model Y completes the company's lineup of sexy cars. So far on this channel, I've reviewed a Model 3 and a Model X, and plan to review a Model S at some point in the future, and eventually the Cybertruck. Because this Model Y is among the most affordable cars Tesla has ever made, I'm going to be reviewing it from a practicality standpoint. What exactly does Mike get by giving Tesla $40,000? We'll go through the general aspects of owning a car like this. What's it like to drive? How does charging work? How's the range? And what about storage? The infotainment center, the smart features, all that stuff. As well as touch on specific things I do and do not like about the Model Y. Let's start with the design. I will not beat around the bush here. The Model Y looks strikingly similar to its siblings. In fact, it shares 75% of its parts with the Model 3. The Model Y looks like a Model 3 after going through puberty. It's sporty and curvy, and to me has this sleek look throughout the entire body. Mike's is black on black, and I'm glad Tesla did away with the chrome accents. The more black, the better. The Model Y is more or less identical to a Model X, and the way to tell the difference between them is the door handles are touching on the Model X, whereas on the Y they are separated. It also kind of looks like an egg on wheels, but that egg is smart and fun to drive. Inside Mike's Model Y are 5 seats. I'd say you can comfortably seat 3 adults back there with no problem. One of the Model Y's attractive selling points is the cargo storage. It's surprisingly big back there, even though from the outside it may not seem like it is. You can fit tons of luggage in the regular trunk, and yes, there's storage below that cover, and a bit of extra room in those wheel wells. We tested the storage limits by attempting to fit a handful of lounge chairs in the back, and it didn't exactly work. However, because of the lack of the optional third row, there's definitely a huge amount of space back there. One reason to get a Model Y over a Model 3. And let's not forget the front trunk, which comfortably stores a Pelican Air 1535. Another great feature of the Model Y, those rear seats fold down with power. You've got 2 buttons in the back that do the work for you. And no, they don't fold back up automatically, you've got to do that yourself. And speaking of power, the liftgate is also powered and can be programmed to only raise to a certain height if your garage ceiling isn't super high, for example. Moving up to the cockpit, we have Tesla's familiar, extremely minimal dashboard. There's literally nothing here except the giant touchscreen. Depending on what you're doing with the car, the dials on the steering wheel let you change volume and change your cruise control speed. The giant touchscreen has the same operating system found in all Teslas, and it is still miles ahead of any infotainment system out there. I do wish there was a second display directly behind the steering wheel like in most traditional vehicles and other Teslas, but the Model Y and the Model 3 only have the giant one in the center. I won't go into too much detail here, but as a quick refresher, you control everything with the car here. All 5 heated seats, the heated steering wheel, Sentry mode, air conditioning, the cameras, navigation, and yes, you can totally watch Twitch and YouTube. However, at least in LA, the LTE is pretty spotty. I guess it's only a matter of time before these cars have 5G, right? The sound system in the Model Y is great. There are 12 speakers throughout the vehicle, and when you crank it, you can feel it. To give you some context, Jack White has used his Model S to mix music in, so there's that. The center console has a good amount of storage, 2 cup holders, and Tesla has done away with the glossy finish, and I much prefer this matte texture. Also, there's now a wireless charging bay that honestly is kind of jank with the iPhone mini, but it's there. There's 2 USB-C ports inside the center console and 2 in the back for the rear passengers. Alright, so let's talk about driving the Model Y. Mike's is the most basic configuration, so you don't get that crazy acceleration. It's pretty quick, don't get me wrong, but it's not explosive like Tesla's performance models. I do like that the seats in the Model Y are raised, so you're a bit higher off the ground than in the Model 3, and the panoramic windshield and roof add to the joy of driving a car like this. I do want to mention the rather limited rear view visibility in the Model Y. Because of the way the car is shaped, you can't see all too well out of the back of the car using the rear view mirror. It is quite narrow. And the visors that Tesla uses in the Model Y are pretty low quality. The flap and the locking mechanism feel cheap. Also, the visor hits me in the face when articulating it, even with the seat back. Also, I wish the Model Y, or any Tesla for that matter, had a handle for getting in and out of the vehicle. We took Mike's Model Y to Beverly Hills, out to Malibu, throughout Studio City and other places in the LA area, and had a great time every mile we drove. Even though the car has an estimated range of 240 miles or so on a full charge, Mike doesn't let his Model Y charge past 80% to keep the battery healthy over time. So we were getting about 190 to 200 miles, and honestly, that was fine. Driving more than like 50 miles in LA is hell, and plus there are superchargers everywhere. We stopped at the Malibu supercharger and the Burbank superchargers, and it was pretty cheap to add juice to the car. Also, it still feels awesome pulling up and seeing a fleet of Teslas like this. Mike says he actually charges at home most of the time using a regular wall outlet overnight. It's hella slow, but does the job. And he says it hasn't affected his electricity bill in a crazy way. And if you're wondering, Mike did not spend the extra $10,000 to get what Tesla refers to as full self-driving capability. But the car will stay in its lane, keep up with the flow of traffic, and will stop and go. But please pay attention when using these features. They absolutely require you to keep your hands on the wheel and eyes on the road. A cool thing I wanted to point out is the car's ability to recognize objects on the road, like this row of traffic cones as well as traffic lights. Another cool thing I want to mention is the sound the car emits when it's in reverse. It's got this alien pulsing noise unlike anything I've ever heard. And if you're wondering about fit and finish, I have to point out the panel gaps I found. They're not a deal breaker, but they are noticeable and something to look out for when buying a Model Y or any Tesla or any car for that matter. Some were inside the car and some on the outside. Again, nothing too crazy, but I'd like to see Tesla improve this over time. Overall, Mike's Model Y is a great everyday electric car. Even though Elon says this Model Y configuration doesn't meet the quote Tesla standard of excellence, Mike is quite happy with this as a daily driver. It's safe to say there's a huge market for non-insanely expensive electric cars, and Tesla has been working hard at bringing the price down over the years. Sure, you could spend $120,000 on a fully loaded Model X, or spend literally half of that on a Model Y and get close to the same thing. The Model Y is roomy, it's comfortable, it's fun to drive, and you never have to visit a gas station. I've seen so many Model Ys in Manhattan over the last year, people are definitely buying them. It's a solid choice for a family vehicle, or if you want a roomy Tesla without breaking the bank, the Model Y is definitely one to consider.